The Chicago skyline glowed against the winter twilight as Maya Lawson saved the final spreadsheet on her computer. Thursday evening at Nexus Capital, and the empty hallways echoed with only the soft hum of air conditioning replacing the usual buzz of activity. She glanced at the clock, 7:30 p.m. Most of her colleagues had left hours ago, but Maya had stayed behind to perfect every detail of the quarterly investment analysis. At 28, she'd worked at Nexus Capital for 4 years, climbing from junior analyst to senior financial strategist through sheer dedication and talent. Maya stretched her arms above her head, feeling the tension in her shoulders from hours hunched over complex financial models. Her auburn hair had fallen loose from its morning twist, and she tucked a strand behind her ear as she printed the final report. "Still here, Maya?" called Derek from IT, passing by with his backpack already slung over his shoulder. "Just finishing the Morrison report," she replied with a tired smile. Derek whistled low. "Rather you than me. Kane has a reputation for being impossible to please." Maya laughed softly, though she understood the sentiment. Adrian Kane had joined Nexus Capital as Director of Investment Strategy 8 months ago, transferred from the London office after his divorce. He was brilliant, demanding, and maintained a professional intensity that some mistook for coldness. Maya had learned to appreciate his direct communication and high standards, even when they pushed her to her limits. She gathered the printed pages, sliding them into a leather portfolio. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed down her charcoal blouse and adjusted her glasses. There was no rational reason for her nervousness. She'd delivered dozens of reports before. Yet something about Adrian Kane made her pulse quicken in ways she refused to examine too closely. The executive floor was even quieter than her own. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city spread below, millions of lights twinkling like earthbound stars. Maya's heels clicked against polished marble as she approached Adrian's office. His door stood partially open, warm light spilling into the hallway. She could see him through the gap, jacket discarded over his chair, sleeves rolled to his elbows as he studied something on his computer screen. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, as if he'd run his fingers through it multiple times. Even exhausted and focused, he carried an intensity that made Maya's breath catch. She knocked gently on the doorframe. "Come in," he said without looking up. "Mr. Kane, I have the quarterly report you requested." At the sound of her voice, his head lifted and his expression softened slightly. "Maya. I was hoping you'd finish it tonight." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Please, sit. I want to go through the projections with you." She entered his office, acutely aware of how intimate the space felt with just the two of them. The usual protective barrier of other employees and daily chaos was gone, leaving only silence and possibility. She placed the portfolio on his desk and sat, smoothing her skirt nervously. Adrian opened the report, his eyes scanning with practiced efficiency. Maya watched his face, looking for any reaction. After 4 years of analyzing numbers, she'd learned to read people's expressions when reviewing her work. But Adrian remained unreadable. "These risk assessments for the Asian markets," he said finally, tapping a particular section. "This is exceptional analysis. How did you factor in the geopolitical instability?" Maya leaned forward, her nervousness dissolving as she entered her comfort zone. "I used a 5-year historical model combined with current trade policy indicators. The tensions between major economies are creating volatility patterns similar to 2018, and I wanted to account for potential escalation." "Smart." He looked up at her, and for the first time since she'd started working under him, she saw genuine admiration in his eyes. "You have a gift for seeing patterns others miss." Heat crept up her neck. "Thank you. I just try to be thorough." "It's more than thoroughness." Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You have intuition that can't be taught. The kind of analytical mind that could reshape entire investment strategies." The compliment hung in the air between them. Maya suddenly became aware of how late it was, how alone they were, how the soft lighting made his office feel less like a workplace and more like somewhere intimate and private. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian's voice was quieter now, less like her boss and more like a person. "Of course. Do you ever feel like you're living half a life?" The question came out of nowhere, catching Maya completely off guard. "Like you're so focused on one thing that everything else just fades away?" She blinked, uncertain how to respond to such a personal. A small girl with Adrian's dark hair smiled at the camera, but her skin had a subtle purple tone that shimmered in the light. "Her mother wasn't human," Adrian said quietly. "She was an alien biochemist studying Earth's pharmaceutical development. We fell in love during my time in London. She died when Celeste was born from complications." His voice cracked. "I've kept Celeste hidden because if anyone discovered her existence, she'd be taken from me. Studied. Treated like a lab specimen." Maya stared at the photo, mind reeling. Then she looked at Adrian, at the fear and desperate hope in his eyes. "Where is she now?" she asked. "At my secure estate outside the city. She's never been to school, never played with other children. She's brilliant, already understands graduate-level mathematics, but she's so lonely. I want to meet her," Maya said without hesitation. That weekend, Adrian brought Maya to his hidden estate. Through reinforced security, they entered a space filled with advanced learning equipment, books, and scientific materials. Celeste sat reading, her purple skin glowing softly. When she looked up, her eyes were deep purple, otherworldly and knowing. "Celeste, this is Maya. She's someone very important to me." The girl studied Maya with intensity beyond her years. "Your cardiovascular rhythm increased when you saw me." Surprise, but not fear. "That's unusual." "Hi, Celeste," Maya said, kneeling. "Your dad says you love learning. What are you reading?" "Advanced probability theory. Father thinks I should read more fiction, but most stories lack logical consistency." Over the following weeks, Maya visited daily. She brought puzzles, played games, treated Celeste like the brilliant child she was. The girl bloomed, laughing and being playful in ways Adrian said she never had. "She's never bonded with anyone like this," Adrian told Maya one evening. "You're giving her what I couldn't, genuine acceptance." That night, after Celeste was asleep, Adrian pulled Maya close on the deck overlooking the forest. "I'm in love with you," he said. "I have been since that night in my office when you delivered that report." "I'm in love with you too," Maya whispered. "With both of you." Their kiss was deep and claiming, months of tension finally released. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Adrian cupped her face. "Are you sure about this? About us? About Celeste?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Maya said, "but paradise couldn't last." The following Monday, Maya noticed the whispers. Conversations stopped when she entered the break room. Knowing glances exchanged between co-workers, during lunch, her friend Sophia pulled her aside urgently. "The rumors have started. Someone saw you and Adrian at that restaurant. The story is spreading through the office like wildfire." "What are people saying?" "That you're sleeping with the boss to get ahead. That your recent promotion to lead analyst was favoritism. That Adrian is taking advantage of a younger employee." Sophia's voice was pained. "None of it is fair or true, but you know how quickly these things spiral." By Tuesday afternoon, Maya was called to Human Resources. Patricia Morris, the stern head of HR, sat behind her desk with a file folder open. "Miss Lawson, I want to be clear, your job performance has been exemplary. However, Nexus Capital has strict policies about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. The situation creates conflicts of interest and opens the company to liability." Patricia laid out the options. One of them transfers to a different department with no reporting relationship, one takes a position at another Nexus office, or one leaves the company. That evening, Maya and Adrian met at their cafe, both shaken. "They called me in too," Adrian revealed, jaw tight. We have to choose. This isn't fair, Maya's voice cracked. Why should we choose between our careers and each other? Because that's how the corporate world works. Adrian reached for her hand. But Maya, whatever you decide, it won't change how I feel about you. Over the next week, the pressure intensified. Maya's co-workers treated her differently, some with cold professionalism, others with barely concealed judgment. Even her work assignment seemed to carry additional scrutiny. The breaking point came during a department meeting. A senior analyst who'd always resented Maya made a snide comment about people who climb the ladder through their personal lives rather than professional skills. 3 months later, Maya stood in the office of Lawson Kane Financial Consulting, watching movers arrange furniture. The space was modest, nothing like Nexus Capital's gleaming towers, but it was theirs. The Morgan account just signed, Adrian called from his office. That's our 5th client this month. Maya smiled. They'd built their client base through Adrian's London connections and her reputation for brilliant analysis. Word was spreading that Lawson Kane delivered results without corporate bureaucracy. But the real transformation was at home. They'd relocated to Adrian's estate full-time, and Maya had become a fixture in Celeste's life. The girl was thriving with 2 parental figures, her brilliance complemented now by genuine happiness. Maya, look! Celeste ran in holding a watercolor painting, her first attempt at art. The purple girl had painted a family, 2 adults and a child standing beneath a starry sky. It's beautiful, Maya said, pulling her close. That evening, after Celeste was asleep, Adrian found Maya on the deck with her laptop, working on projections. Remember that night you brought me the Morrison report? He asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. How could I forget? I was shaking so hard I thought I'd drop the portfolio. I knew that night I was in trouble, Adrian murmured. The way you explained your analysis, the passion in your voice, the way you challenged my assumptions. I knew you were going to turn my world upside down. Did I? Completely. And I've never been more grateful. He turned her to face him. Marry me, Maya. She stared at him, tears filling her eyes. What? Marry me. Be Celeste's mother officially. Be my partner in everything, business and life. He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. I know it's fast, but I've never been more certain of anything. Yes, Maya whispered. Yes, absolutely yes. They married 6 weeks later in a small ceremony at the estate with just Celeste, Maya's family, and a few close friends. Celeste was flower girl, her purple skin glowing with joy. A year later, Maya stood at a podium accepting the Chicago Business Journal's Rising Entrepreneur Award. Lawson Kane Financial had grown to 15 employees and was managing over $500 million in assets. A year ago, I faced a choice, Maya said in her acceptance speech. Career advancement at a major firm, or the unknown path of building something new. I chose the unknown because I learned that success isn't about climbing someone else's ladder, it's about building your own. She looked at Adrian and Celeste in the front row. I walked into my boss's office one night to deliver a simple report. What happened inside that office, the vulnerability, the honesty, the connection, it shook me to my core. It made me question everything I thought I wanted. Maya smiled. That report changed my life. Not because of the financial analysis, but because it led to a conversation that showed me what truly matters. Not titles or corner offices, but authentic connection. Not corporate approval, but building something real with people you love. After the ceremony, they celebrated at home. Celeste had made a banner reading, "Congratulations, Mom," that brought tears to Maya's eyes. "I'm proud of you," Adrian said, pulling her close. "I'm proud of us," Maya corrected. "We built this together." She thought about that night a year ago, how terrified she'd been walking into Adrian's office, how her hands had shaken, how her world had tilted when he'd been vulnerable with her. She'd entered with a simple report. She'd left with everything changed. That report hadn't just been about financial projections. It had been the catalyst for the most important analysis of her life, the realization that sometimes the greatest risk is playing it safe, that professional success means nothing without personal fulfillment, that the most valuable investment is in people you love. Maya had delivered a report and found a family. She'd faced professional humiliation and discovered her strength. She'd risked everything and gained a life she'd never dared to dream. The woman who'd been shaking that night in Adrian's office had found her footing. She'd built an empire on her own terms, raised an extraordinary child, loved a man who saw her completely. And it all started with walking into an office late one Thursday night, carrying a leather portfolio and a racing heart, having no idea that delivering a simple report would be the moment her real life began. Sometimes the things that leave us shaking are exactly what we need to finally stand firm. The room fell silent. Adrian's face darkened, but before he could respond, Maya stood. "I've worked at this company for 4 years," she said, voice steady despite shaking hands. "I've exceeded every performance metric, taken on projects no one else wanted, and consistently delivered results. My personal life is exactly that, personal. And I won't apologize for finding happiness or let anyone diminish my accomplishments." She gathered her materials and walked out, leaving stunned silence. That evening, Adrian appeared at her apartment door. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen," he said when she opened the door. "It was probably career suicide," she replied, but let him pull her into an embrace. "Patricia called me after the meeting," Adrian said softly. "Nexus is offering you a position as regional director at the Boston office. Significant promotion, substantial raise, your own team." Maya pulled back. "And you?" "I'm resigning," Adrian said simply. Maya stared at Adrian in shock. "What? No. You can't resign because of me." "I'm not resigning because of you, I'm resigning for us. For Celeste." Adrian took her hands. "Maya, I've spent my entire life putting career first. My marriage failed because of it. I barely know my own daughter because I was always working. When are the priorities supposed to shift? But you've worked so hard. To build what? A career that demands I hide the woman I love and keeps my daughter isolated?" Adrian's voice was firm. "No. I'm done." The next day, Adrian called a department meeting. Maya sat in the back, stomach churning. "I've accepted a position as an independent financial consultant," Adrian announced. "My last day will be in 2 weeks. I want to thank you all for your professionalism during a difficult period." He looked directly at Maya. "I also want to address the rumors. Yes, Maya Lawson and I are in a relationship. But anyone who suggests her achievements are anything other than the result of exceptional talent and dedication is wrong. She earned every promotion through merit alone." After the meeting, Patricia called Maya in again. "Miss Lawson, we'd still like you to consider the Boston position. You have a bright future here." Maya thought about Celeste's laugh, Adrian's vulnerability, the life they could build together. She thought about 4 years of sacrificing everything for career advancement. "I appreciate the offer," Maya said carefully. "But I need some time to think." That weekend, Maya visited the estate. She found Celeste in her study, working on complex equations. "Maya." The girl's face lit up, a transformation that still amazed her. "Father says you might move away." "I might have to," Maya admitted, kneeling beside her. "For work." Celeste's purple eyes filled with tears. "But I don't want you to go. You're the only person besides Father who sees me as me, not as something strange." Maya pulled the girl close, and something crystallized in her mind. She'd spent years chasing professional validation, trying to prove her worth through achievement. But here was a child who needed her. A man who loved her. A family that could be hers if she was brave enough to choose it. That evening, she found Adrian on the deck. "I'm not taking the Boston position," she said. "Maya, you don't have to give up your career for me." "I'm not giving it up. I'm redirecting it." Maya smiled. "I'm starting my own financial consulting firm. Independent, on my terms. And I was hoping you'd be my first partner." Adrian's face transformed with hope. "Are you serious?" "Completely. We'll have to be careful at first, but we can build something real. Something that doesn't require us to hide or choose." Adrian pulled her close, kissing her deeply. "I love you. God, I love you."